Welcome to another exciting episode of
The English Couple. I can't even see my finger. The English Couple.
That's us.
Yeah,
We're not at home. The sun came out,
It did.
and we thought, do you know what? We've got to get out. We've got to get some of that vital vitamin D, and enjoy it. And actually, I just need to stand behind the camera and make sure actually we're getting the audio. Are we getting the audio?
We are. Yes.
Yeah.
Excelente.
So apologies for that. We just thought we'd take a stroll today past the seafront and maybe this time talk about, well, if we were to move in the countryside, which is one of the things we'd like to do, what would we miss about the...
About Worthing and Lancing, being by the seaside.
Being by the sea, yeah. Now, I'm a bit worried about the sun being straight into the lens of the camera and it flaring, so I hope the quality is going to be okay.
There's an and an R about whether to go that way or that way, isn't
Yeah.
it? But I think we're going to go that way.
I think so, although, actually...
Change his mind again.
Yeah, I think actually if we go that way, we'll pass a little bit more of other... I mean, people have seen the pier, haven't they, and all of that?
Yeah.
And we can go down onto the actual beach. You've got your big boots on. In fact, we could do that, couldn't we? Should we walk
Oh
down?
yes, let's walk. Oh yes, because the tide's out.
Because
We
the
can walk
tide
down
is
there.
right out. Yes, there we go. And then we can
We got them. Yeah.
we can
Well,
whiz the
will.
camera around and show everybody. Because there may be people who've not seen any of our previous content on the other channel from ye oldie days. And so they might be completely new.
Ye olden times
Yeah, looking
gone
at
by.
what we're doing and thinking, oh, I didn't know you lived by the sea. So we do. So for those that don't know, we're down here on the south coast on a shingly seaside. It's just got very, very busy over the last... Well, I've been here for 30 years.
I've been in the area for 9, or is it 10 now?
But when you lived down in Fareham Way,
Yeah.
that was close to the coast as well.
Oh,
wasn't
yeah,
it? So
yeah.
we've both been on the...
Always, when living in England, I've always been near the sea.
Yes.
So that would be something that would be a bit of a shock to the system. But it was a bit of a shock to the system moving from the Fareham, Hampshire area to here anyway, because there's no Isle of Wight out there.
Out there, by out there.
And it was very-
We just turned round
Yeah. I mean, out there.
behind us. So you were opposite the Isle of Wight.
Yes, and it was very much like a blanket. You know, it kind of protects from some of the harsher weather and things like that. Like the wind isn't quite as strong on the seaside over there as it can be here, to my experience, that is. So,
No, I would think you're probably more exposed there. We're sort of slightly tucked in here, although we do get quite a bit of wind. So we would like, in an ideal world, if we could manage it, and we are hoping that we'd like to be more self-sufficient, for one thing,
absolutely, yeah.
and grow some of our own food. Now, I have a tiny garden. Your garden
It's
is...
big, but it's full of junk at the moment.
Yes, and you're in a difficult situation with
Yes.
your ex-husband. So you really need to move, and we'd like to be together, of course.
We want to be together. What
So-
advert was that? I can't remember.
I can't remember now, and we thought we don't want to be too far from the coast, because I do actually like living by the sea, but it'd be nice to be in the country where the air is fresh, have a bit of space, grow stuff, and potentially, if one could have a small holding,
That would be absolutely perfect.
have some animals. At least, at the moment there's this whole business about chickens, and people are unable to get eggs. So it'd be nice to have one's own chickens.
Yes. So I'd love to have our own chickens for our own eggs. But I'd also love to be able to, if I had the time, to rescue and rehabilitate chickens. I know that's a whole lot of heartbreak there because the success rate isn't very high, but worth giving a try, right?
Oh, absolutely. I know people do that, don't they? Is it with broiler
Yeah.
hens?
Because they're usually the ones that then just get sold for quick meat after having produced eggs, don't they?
Yes.
I may be completely wrong. Usually am.
I'm just going to come this side of you because of my arm is aching. holding the camera, so they can get to see the pier behind us.
Yes.
So yeah, we'd love to do that and be a bit more self-sufficient and less dependable and reliable on supermarket foods.
Less dependent and reliant.
Yes, that's the words that I was trying to utilise.
Same words, just slightly different.
Yeah. less dependent.
Pedantic.
No,
Sorry.
no, absolutely. I've got no problems. So that's my poor education. And yeah, so being less independent on...
More independent. Less dependent on them, more dependent on
I'm
ourselves.
getting myself all tied up here.
Tongue-tied.
Yes, tongue-tied. Being more less dependent on and more... Oh, gosh. Anyway, being
We know
free.
what you're trying to say.
Being free of supermarket foods and processed foods and big industrial foods and growing your own home produce so that you know what's in the food. You
That
know-
is key, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think more and more now people are needing to have healthier foods and healthier lifestyles. And it does seem like, you know, sometimes you think, oh, having to grow your own food, it's a backward step, isn't it? It's,
Yeah.
you know, we've got whole industries that are able to do that
Yeah. So I
for
have
us.
to put my glasses back on because the wind is playing havoc with my eyes and I've got a bit of grit in there.
Shall we turn
Yay!
our backs on? Which way is the wind coming?
From there, but it's all right. If I put my glasses on,
What if we
Takes a
stand
bit.
this way? Maybe we could go back up onto there, round the gardens a bit.
yeah. I'm not crying, by the way. Well, I am crying, but not emotional.
Not
tears.
emotionally. No, I haven't managed to say anything
No, you haven't
too
hurt me.
rude or too grim.
It's too
Here,
much.
whilst you're there, we'll just have a look at the overall backdrop. Look at that.
Wait. Am I under the pier yet?
Yeah, kind
Holding
of.
it
Hang
up.
on. If I go like this, it looks like you're holding the pier up,
Yay!
sort of.
Sort of.
Which is just a bit of fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what would we miss if we were to move away from where we are now? I mean, it is one of the things I love is just coming down to the seafront because it is this wide expanse when the tide is out and you feel more that you're on your own.
Yes, because you can get further away from people. That's why we like the idea of having a slightly more rural home and base of living, isn't it? So that we can be slightly away from people because, well, the south does seem to be filling up, doesn't it?
It's filling up. I mean, not only with people in rubber dinghies, but filling up with just people in general. Now, that's not a bad thing in its own inevitable right, but they do seem to be cramming into one place. Shall we get out of this wind? Let's go back up there, shall we? Which is a bit of a shame. A bit of water here on the ground to splosh through with leaky shoes.
Boop, boop. Ooh, doo, 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 doo. It's not so bad.
So just the fresh air is another thing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, being on the seaside, you're, I mean, that cusp between the land and sea, there's something magical about that in itself anyway.
Yes, and the fact that the tide comes in and
Yeah,
goes
yeah.
out.
And because inevitably you don't have anyone living or working or building
We're doing
there,
anything, yeah.
or doing anything there. So you've got that freshness there, you know, we're not producing pollutants. Oh, you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah. No, and you do get a sense that you're getting fresh air when you come down to the sea, because as you say, the traffic isn't there and
Yeah.
industry isn't there, and it's nice. And also that's just that crunching on the beach.
Crunching stones. Oh, and the sandy bits, because you get sandy bits when the tide goes out.
And it's a free playground for the kids.
Absolutely, that's what I was going to say. I'd 100% miss it during the summer, being able to just step out the front door, walking 300 metres, and doing the rock pool exploration, looking at the little crabs,
Yeah.
you know, following the tide out, things like that. There's so many lovely things to watch and see, and even picking out what you find on the beach. You know, bits of deceased sea life.
So maybe we've been looking for places in all sorts of different areas, from Yorkshire down to East Anglia. But maybe we should be looking in places that are nearer the sea, in some of these smaller little craggy nooks and crannies. But you always know that they're going to be extremely expensive.
Yeah.
And that maybe 2 or 3 miles from the sea, so you can still go down there. You could nip down in the van or whatever vehicle conveyance we have. Let's get back on the top.
or even a bus.
Or on a bus, on a bit of public transport. Nice with the van, because we can take our sandwiches and make a cup of tea, and if the
That's
weather
right, yeah.
turns grim, we've got that. That would be nice to get away from sirens. And if you can hear those in the background, hear the crunch of the stones.
Ah, lovely.
One of the things I won't miss, if I found a nice place where there was no potential, oh, it's windy up here as well.
I know.
We'll find somewhere. Is modern stuff, like, if I turn the camera around carefully,
That thing.
you know, there's a lot of modern architecture. It's just horrible, and it doesn't fit in. We've spoken about that on other videos that we've made.
Complained about how it's an eyesore. It crops right up out of the horizon.
Yeah.
You can see it from the downs, quite a distance.
And it's that utilitarian nature of architecture that it serves the job, but there's no aesthetics.
No.
And being by a coastal town like this, which flourished, I suppose, in the Victorian Edwardian periods, the architecture is actually, when you can find it, because it keeps getting knocked down now, is very beautiful. It's very nice to arrest one's eyes on that. Cool. Is it windier up here than it is on the beach? That's outrageous.
I wasn't sure how you thought we were going to avoid the wind.
Yeah.
But if we go onto a
Beach
That's
Green
it.
Park, whatever it is, that'd be quite nice. And then you get all this sort of, these little, here behind us, we've got these beach huts, and they've got artists in their galleries doing all sorts of bits and pieces, which is quite nice, it's like a little mini Brighton artistic area.
looks like someone's been a cockling.
A whole
It's a
load of
massive pile of just them.
just shells.
Oh, there are different shells in there. We've got some of these curly ones as well. But it's mostly, these are cockle shells, aren't they?
I don't know. No, are they?
The ones with the kind of half thing inside.
Oh, I don't know. I'm shell ignorant.
Ooh, that's a pretty one.
Well, that's a very nice one. That's
Lovely colour inside.
what do you call that? That is a.
Conch,
Oh yes, that's right.
I think, is the word.
Who are you calling a conch?
Well, let's not get into name calling.
No, we don't like any of that.
None of that nonsense. Let's
Get
try
off
not
the-
to get mown down
No.
by the cyclists either.
This is an unusual area
Yeah.
in Worthing, but you've got the Beach House Park house from the Georgian period over there in the distance. It'll seem on the GoPro. Did you press the button?
I did hit the button just in case.
In
but
case.
I guess it gets turned off in the winter. It's a splash play area.
Yeah.
So these big spurts of water come up. I was like, it was a bit risky with the GoPro, but it's a GoPro, right?
Yeah, it's waterproof. The audio system isn't waterproof.
Might
so-
have been a bit of a struggle.
Yeah.
but Still, I doubted it was on.
No.
I was right.
And you were right. Shall we wander up there? We can go through Beach House Park on the way
Yeah.
back, can't we?
Yeah.
So, again, it's that the other thing is, of course, we live in a town. It's a seaside town, and it's grown, as we alluded to.
Exponentially still growing.
And yes, absolutely. But it would be nice to live in a smaller village. But I think a lot of people would love to do that, wouldn't they? They'd love
Yeah.
to live in a village rather than the town. Or am I just making that up?
No, I mean,
A little community where you know people and you trust people, and
it is the ideal dream, isn't it, for a lot of people? And it's understandable as to why, because that was, I think that's how we as a species work best, you know, in the smaller habitations. But of course, with smaller habitations and fewer inhabitants, you get more issues with, well, people who don't get along, you know, because in a bigger
Yes,
crowd,
you can
just
lose yourself a bit.
you know, disappear or among the crowd. But with fewer people, you have to work harder to get along with people.
I often feel like there's been a bit of a mix-up in where we should have gone as a society. We've because of technological developments, we moved from a rural community where we were dependent on the land, and we knew what we were eating, albeit it was quite a lot of hardship.
Yeah.
But in the new technical world, technocratic world that we are, industrial world, we find that we are also dependent on the industry for the very foodstuffs, work, and often it doesn't bring the same satisfaction, perhaps. You know, if you think of artisans and people who did things with their hands, craftspeople, are now very much machine operators. And that seems to be taking away one of the joys of life. You know, we live life and one should enjoy it, but it seems that sense of life has been removed and that it's just a hardship we have to endure until we get to the point where we lie down for the last time.
I'm just thinking, there's that saying, isn't there? I don't know where it comes from, but the devil makes quick work of idle hands or something like that.
Yes. He chops legs off those that won't walk in a straight line.
No, but I mean, these things we've got on the ends of our armies, they're really fascinating and amazing things, aren't they? We could do so much with them. And we evolved doing that. And we've lost a lot of that. A lot of people are doing more crafts and little hobbies like that to sate that need. But
it's also, you know,
like
in
turning
the brain.
all these into all sorts of different things, you know, when it needs to come down.
Yes.
And crafting with your hands, it's just a beautiful thing.
That sense of being able to achieve something for yourself rather than letting, you know, we've sort of offset stuff for other people, but more for industry. And now my worry is that we're now going down this path. Shall we go into the other parts?
Yeah.
Shall we do that? Is that we're going down this route towards AI, artificial intelligence. The idea, of course, is to free us up, is how it's, you know, sold to us. To free us up so that machines will do all the work. But having already experienced how machines do all the work, it takes away your agency. So an example I often give is with my ex-partner that I was with for a while. She had a dishwasher. She was on her own. She had a dishwasher. Now, she was on her own, so it only took a few minutes to wash the dishes.
Yeah.
And then when I went to see her, we'd have a meal. We'd have a lovely conversation over the meal. And then she would say things like, oh, we'll just leave the thing, we'll shove the dishes in the dishwasher. So we would do that. We would go in the other room, we'd sit on the sofa and put on another machine, which would give us our entertainment for the evening. And I regaled against this and said, no, let's not do that. I'll wash up. She said, well, you don't need to, but I want to.
Yeah.
And I would wash up, and we would then stay in the kitchen, continuing the conversation, and we didn't have to put the machine on to give us an introduction to other people's lives. I'm going to risk life and limb here, take my own life in my hands, and have a bit of agency. Here we go, we're coming into one of the local parks in Worthing. Let's see what's going on.
Stuff. Nothing actually is. Oh no, there are people here.
So AI is a worry for me because I never asked for it.
No. A lot of people are scared of it. And I have a particular friend who, when I showed her some footage of the Boston Dynamics group, who are creating these robots basically for various
amazing
things.
what they do, but...
Yeah. I mean, I'm absolutely fascinated by this because I'm fascinated by what mankind makes and creates. I mean, it's wonderful, isn't it? All the engineering and the architecture, etc., etc. Oops, too many etceteras. But I lost my thread now because I said too many etceteras.
You were saying you showed it to your friend.
Oh yes, the Boston Dynamics, and she was absolutely petrified. I was like, yeah, but they don't have autonomy. They're being directed, you know. I mean, they have very, very basic motor autonomy. They've been designed to jump from box to box and do these sorts of things. Basically, so they can go into rubble sites and try to find survivors of earthquakes or bomb attacks, or dropping my sunglasses.
But it does.
But it is scary because you know I did think about it after I was taken back by her shock. So
yes.
I thought about it. I was like, well, she is actually right because I mean AI isn't a perfect thing. And you know, and there are so many movies and films about how AI could go wrong. So many.
The thing is, sometimes I often feel that these films I mean, we've seen it with technology. You watch films from the 50s and some of the science fiction films, and they show you in the films the technology that's coming. Then it comes.
Yeah. Well,
And the things that they said in the films, which you laughed at the time in the sort of 50s and 60s, when you look at these old films,
you just
and
kind of,
you go, oh, that would never happen.
and you blindly accept it when it comes round because we've been conditioned, I guess.
Yeah. So now I'm slightly worried now because we have all these films about how technology and AI will take over. And it will. I've just got to stop here because look, we've got crocuses and snowdrops. We've actually got a little...
Under this lovely willow. Oh, willow,
And no, this isn't a willow.
isn't it?
No, this is an ash tree. Look.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Just a weeping one.
It's yeah. How extraordinary. So, yeah, it's nice to see, because normally I'd be out at this time on a walk somewhere in the old days looking at the nature, the landscape, the heritage, and I know
Perhaps
people
changing through the seasons.
Want me to
Miss
do
that.
more of that. Well, we're hoping to do more of that on this channel.
Yes.
That is, trying to
That's it.
keep out of with the sun behind us, which is a pain
Ta-da.
in the bottom.
But yeah, all these the films and TV shows and things that explore all these theories and these ideas. It's kind of how we as a species, you know, through our fiction, and it used to be more books and things like that, that's how we explore these concepts.
Yes, and you would hope that the films show you what can go wrong and what you would want to avoid.
Yeah.
But it does seem that that's been ignored a lot of the time, because I have a horrible, sneaky feeling that the... shall we walk down the side here?
Yes.
I have a horrible, sneaky feeling that the AI is being used to create more AI. And so you realise that the artificial intelligence is actually learning on the job far quicker than... oh, you've got that way, okay.
I don't know.
And so therefore humans will become obsolete. Well, that's a long way from us moving into the countryside from
Yes,
towns.
we did veer a little off course, didn't we?
But I do think that
Figuratively
that's
and
it.
literally.
It just shows you how autonomous I think that towns and cities will become, and getting away and having your own space. I just think humanity needs that. And so that would be something I would aim to get out of. Well, we've done about 22 minutes on this, which is normally our
the
time,
thing.
isn't it?
Where are we looking?
Let's get a bit of sun on our faces. There we go. So I hope you've enjoyed this
Ramble.
a literal ramble, isn't
Yeah.
it? As we've rambled along the coast.
And figurative.
And yeah, absolutely. And hopefully, if we get more days like this, if you enjoy us being out and about, which we do, and it's
We
nice
do.
to get a bit of that sun on us, we do more of.
Fantastic.
So yeah, there
Thank
you
you
go.
very much for joining us.
We'll enjoy your comments. If you've got anything to add on the subject matter we've been discussing, we'd be very interested to hear it.
And I'll try to make more effort to respond to our comments, but we do read them,
We read all of them.
and we appreciate all the different information we learn.
Yeah, life is quite busy at the moment, so it's difficult to keep on top of everything. But
Yeah.
reading them is not so difficult.
No.
Replying to hundreds of them is a different thing. But anyway,
Yeah,
that's
we don't
not
have
for us.
hundreds on this channel as yet.
No, we're not mailing or complaining, believe
No,
me.
no, no. Thank you for commenting and thank
Yeah.
you for watching.
Till next time.
Take care and bye.